The alien woman proposed marriage immediately to the man who said, "You are very beautiful." Loran had always been careful with his words. As a junior cultural liaison at the Earth Embassy, he understood that diplomacy was more about listening than speaking, especially when it came to the first official meeting with an alien species. But all of his preparation, all of his training, went out the window the moment Commander Seraya stepped into the grand reception hall. She was everything the Earth media had promised. A towering figure with shimmering silver skin, eyes that gleamed like twin moons, and an aura of power that could bend the very air around her. The other members of the Vel'tharan delegation stood behind her like her shadows, but it was Seraya who commanded every ounce of attention. Loran couldn't help himself. He wasn't supposed to speak directly to her. He was just a lowly aide. But as she approached, he found the words slipping out before he could stop them. "You are very beautiful," he said, his voice almost a whisper. The room fell dead silent. He froze, realizing the weight of his words. What had he just said? A deep flush crept up his neck, and the murmurs of surprise from the crowd grew louder. The Vel'tharan diplomats exchanged bewildered glances. Loran could feel every eye on him, and he wanted to sink into the floor. Seraya, however, didn't seem angry. Instead, she stopped in her tracks and turned to face him directly, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if sizing him up. "You speak with sincerity, human?" Her voice was calm but filled with an ancient authority that sent a shiver down his spine. Yes, Loran stammered, not sure whether he was about to be arrested or thrown out of the embassy. The commander's gaze softened just slightly. She took a step closer to him, her silver robes trailing like liquid mercury. "Then I accept your proposal." Loran's eyes widened in disbelief. "My what?" The entire room gasped in unison, and the sound reverberated through the hall. The other humans in the room looked at him in horror, as if he had just single-handedly ruined any chance Earth had of forming a successful alliance with the Vel'tharans. The Vel'tharan delegation, on the other hand, appeared stunned but not displeased. One of the ambassadors whispered something to a nearby guard, who quickly pulled out a datapad and began searching through a translation dictionary. Meanwhile, Seraya stood before Loran, her expression unreadable. "Do you withdraw your words, human?" she asked, her voice quieter but no less intense. Loran blinked rapidly, still processing what had just happened. "No, I meant what I said. You are beautiful." The moment he said it, he realized how strange it must have sounded. Here he was, in front of an entire room full of diplomats and warriors, and he had just admitted to making a proposal, but he hadn't meant it in that way. It had just been an offhand compliment, a moment of awe. He was embarrassed, sure, but not regretful. Seraya smiled then, a slow curve of her lips that was both regal and warm, though still distant. "Then I accept your bond," she declared, and the room fell into a stunned silence once more. Loran's brain finally caught up to his tongue. "Wait, no, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't. You have spoken with honor, and the Vel'tharan people honor sincerity above all else," Seraya interrupted smoothly. "In our culture, such words are considered the highest form of proposal. The moment you spoke them, you offered a bond. And I, as commander of my people, accept." The room was still. The whispers had ceased. Loran could hear his heart beating in his ears. "I wasn't proposing," Loran said, his voice barely above a whisper, but it was too late. The court had already taken note, and the Vel'tharan delegation murmured among themselves in soft tones. Seraya raised a hand to silence them and turned her gaze back to him. "Your words were sincere. If you now retract them, I will accept it, but know this, I will no longer hear them again. If you meant them, we shall begin our union." Loran was stunned into silence. He was supposed to be representing Earth's best interests, not getting tangled in an alien marriage proposal because of a misplaced compliment. His mind raced, tried to find a way out of this diplomatic disaster. And yet, looking at Seraya, unfathomably beautiful, wise beyond any human's understanding, he couldn't deny a strange feeling stirring inside him. He had been honest, hadn't he? And perhaps honesty had its own kind of power. "No," Loran said finally, his voice gaining strength. "I meant it." Seraya's smile grew wider. "Then we begin," she said. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of introductions, formalities, and a confused chatter of diplomats who were still processing what had just transpired. As the event drew to a close, Loran found himself standing beside Seraya, the two of them surrounded by the hum of quiet conversations and curious stares. In the midst of it all, Seraya leaned toward him, her voice soft and teasing. "I am curious, human. What else might you say if you spoke from the heart?" Loran couldn't help but smile. "Let's find out, Commander." And so, in the most unexpected of ways, the journey of their bond began, through honesty, humility, and one simple, accidental compliment.